is Caitlin Clark being frustrated. Caitlin Clark wanted to come back. Word on the street, front office, even Stephanie White said it down in Phoenix. She stated, we are worried about the long-term health of Caitlin Clark. That has been the topic. That has been all they worried about.
The star who turned the Indiana Fever from a losing team to a contender for the playoffs, Caitlin Clark, has been benched by her own front office, not by competitors or age. The face of women's basketball is currently being marginalized by the same suits that owe her everything. Clark, though, isn't giving up. She isn't taking it in stride. She's energized, prepared to battle, and makes it obvious that nobody is sitting on her Caitlin Clark.
Is Caitlin Clark not playing because she's hurt? She can't come back? Or is she not playing because the organization chose to bench her for the rest of the year? Because Stephanie White has come out and made some comments, and I don't like what I'm hearing.
Officially, the Indiana Fever have qualified for the playoffs for the second consecutive year. Their first winning season since 2015, with a franchise record of 23 victories. And you know who isn't playing in the year's most significant games? The player who enabled everything. The person who transformed deserted arenas into packed shows. The person whose name alone makes people want to buy seats, buns, and money. Caitlin Clark will miss the rest of the season, including the playoffs, due to her injury. She is also furious.
Indiana Fever are having a tough time covering the tracks to the dirty games they played and screwing over the fans and sabotaging Caitlin Clark this season. Everybody is on to the dirty games that the WNBA and the Indiana Fever have played this season, manipulating the people and using Caitlin Clark for money and using her fans. Stephanie White has been exposed. Lexi Hall confirms that Caitlin Clark was ready to play and that the team made the decision to keep her out while she was ready to play.
The official explanation, long-term health, and the overall picture. The front desk is behaving as though they are protecting Caitlin Clark's royal jewels, bubble wrapping her for a future that seems to be more important than the present. They essentially give themselves a slap on the shoulder for exercising caution, as though supporters should cheer them on for benching the one-woman highlight reel that brought this team back to prominence.
Steph, what stood out to you about Caitlin and kind of the ray of emotion she probably felt as you came to this decision?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, number one, just all the injuries that she's had. Obviously, I wouldn't speak for her, but and the amount of work that she's put in to position herself to be able to play and then to, have to ultimately make this decision. There's disappointment. There's the obvious frustration that's come with not being healthy really for an entire season. But ultimately, I think the big picture is the most important thing, and those are conversations that we've continued to have. And the messages continue to be that it's not her long-term health and wellness and her being 100% when she's ready to go is the most important thing.
You don't put Caitlin Clark on the injury list like any other player. She is the sole reason the Indiana Fever is even discussed. Recall that this organization was a league laughingstock for 7 years in a row, never making it to the postseason. Then Caitlin appears, and all of a sudden they're a playoff team, packed stadiums, and making headlines on SportsCenter. She led a group of players into the ballroom from the basement.
Caitlin Clark strapped on her hard hat and steel-toed boots and revolutionized the game of pretend basketball. She turned this previously unmonetizable turd into a league that's getting dangerously close to losing their charity status. Because of Caitlin Clark, the WNBA is on the verge of generating pesos and profit for the first time ever. She brought mainstream attention to a league that never had a chance of breaking into the mainstream. She brought a new fan base. For the first time, people were actually willing to spend money to watch the WNBA.
And how does she get paid by the suits? By telling her not to participate in this dance. It's more than just a tactical error. It's almost disrespectful. When the plot is going well, you don't cut the main character off. It's similar to a Marvel film where the superhero isn't shown in the last battle because the director is concerned about wear and tear.
Which I'm all for the long-term health, but you gotta be a player-first organization. And if that said player is ready to return, she's cleared by the doctors, she's cleared by the damn doctors to play, been cleared by the doctors to play, let her fucking play. I am sorry. Y'all sitting up here, donkey and a damn carried everybody, wanting to get all the money you can off one day. It's one day at a time, All this BS y'all doing is ridiculous. And Indiana, you're looking spooky. I am sorry. I am sick of this.
Subscribe if you're enjoying it. Connecticut Sunday, July 15th, 2025, last minute of the match. After making a standard pass, Clark abruptly catches her right groin. Her rage is captured on camera. Her spirit was crushed by disappointment as she held her head in her hands and placed a towel over her shoulders. The Fever front office made her destiny from that point on. She was cleared for non-comp practice by neither Clark nor the physicians. The Fever's matches become into major events. As an example, the most watched game of the year, her debut matchup with Angel Reese's squad, attracted 2.7 million people on ESPN. Angel Reese, who had 12 points and a lot of side-eye, was somewhere in the background when she posted a triple-double that night and essentially took the internet by storm. The show, the entire show, and nothing else is Caitlin.
Instead of allowing Caitlin Clark to elevate the league, WNBA players were overtaken with powerful feelings of jealousy. They resented her. They wanted her to go away. And this season, and especially over the last couple of months, WNBA players have gotten exactly what they wanted. After 2 years of claiming that the WNBA is about more than one player, unknown dump divers were finally given the opportunity to prove it. As expected, the end result has been huge, embarrassing failure.
They held hope in front of a racehorse like a carrot for over 2 months. We're taking it slow, they said on a daily basis. Clark, meantime, worked out for hours every day with the sole purpose of returning to the court. She was practicing non-contact exercises. She was taking part in shootouts. She was prepared to go back and lead her group to success. This is where things turn unpleasant, though. The front desk staff, who have been on the Caitlin Clark gravy train since the beginning, made the decision that they were more knowledgeable. They completely shut her down. Not because the physicians forbade her from playing, but rather because they wished to safeguard her long-term health. Translation: they were willing to forego their best shot at a title in order to safeguard their investment.
The Fever fan base has lost so much trust in the Fever organization this year, and not only from the injury reporting, but it stems from the injury reporting. There's been some very, very weird injury reports this season, and the math isn't mathing. And I've also been one to defend the organization to a certain extent because you don't always want to give away too much information. And I've placed a lot of the blame on the reporters. I'm like, how are the reporters not able to get to the bottom of this and at least give us something?
Every executive in that building should shudder after reading the statement that Clark published. Although I had wanted to provide a more positive news, I will not be playing this season. Every day, I dedicated hours to the gym with the sole purpose of going back out there. The word disappointed doesn't really capture how I feel.
Take a moment to process that.
The word disappointed is insufficient. This person is Caitlin Clark, the lady who has carried a whole league on her back, overcome obstacles that would have crushed humans, and never failed. Consider the contributions Clark has made to this club. She successfully transformed a WNBA laughingstock into a postseason contender. She violated attendance guidelines. She broke attendance records. For the first time in almost 10 years, she brought the Indiana Fever back into the spotlight. And they pay her back like this, by excluding her from the most important games in the franchise's history.
Is a sabotage job, you guys. Flat out, point blank, period. You guys have not been open and up front. You guys have talked about long-term health and wellness. You guys have not been upfront with the injuries, with the injury report, with the timetable. You guys left this girl listed as day-to-day and questionable for months at a time. That is not being upfront with the people. It's not. You guys hid an injury, an ankle injury, for weeks. You guys hid an ankle injury for weeks. Stop it.
The excuse from the front desk: we're not giving it a timeline. Our top priority is to ensure Caitlyn's long-term health. How honorable, how thoughtful, yet how completely offensive to a rival like Clark. This woman persevered through hardship throughout her career. I never missed an Iowa game. During her first WNBA season, she never missed a game. Suddenly, though, the front desk is more knowledgeable about her anatomy than she is. They don't want you to know this fact. Clark was taking part in group activities. She was participating in 5-on-0 drills while running with the squad. The team's daily story was being criticized by medical specialists as being deceptive, claiming that her prolonged absence demonstrated that she was struggling with a weekly problem rather than a catastrophic one. However, the front office decided to go nuclear, cutting off their franchise player just as she was about to make a comeback.
When she hurt her ankle in August, that was really the dagger at the end of the season. But also, they had no idea when that groin injury would have healed. See, this is the part that's frustrating with these guys, is that why can't they just say mid-grade 2 or 3? Just tell the truth. Was it a 1? Was it a 2? Was it a 3? Was it a 1 but she re-aggravated in practice or something? Did they over-push her or something?
How did Clark respond to this betrayal? Unadulterated truthfulness. This has been quite annoying. However, there is good even in the bad. The fans' unwavering support of me and the Fever gave me a great deal of happiness and valuable insight. This crew has persevered through hardship this year, and I am incredibly proud of them for that. It's time to wrap up the season and secure our place. Take note of what she accomplished there. She gave the fans thanks. She gave her teammates a lot of praise, but she said nothing to show appreciation for the front office that came to this conclusion. That quiet has a lot to say. During the most important games of the year, Clark is fully aware of who is in charge of keeping her off the floor.
I miss it too. Y'all want to know why Caitlin Clark said this? Because Caitlin Clark never wanted to sit out. Caitlin Clark wanted to come back. Caitlin Clark wanted to come back, and they're treating her like she's property. That's what the Indiana Fever is doing. She's their property now. And since Caitlin Clark can have the say on whether she can play basketball or not, which is completely damn me ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. If she could play and she want to play, let her fucking play.
This is where it becomes even more vexing. Clark is necessary for the Indiana Fever. They defeated the Washington Mystics 94-65 to secure their postseason berth and now sit as the 7th seed. However, they're entering the postseason without their identity, their appeal, or their superstar. The team's prospects of making the playoffs without Clark are already being questioned by fans. And with good reason. The front desk wants to discuss safeguarding Clark's future. How about safeguarding the future of the franchise? What about the thousands of fans who anticipated seeing the Caitlin Clark performance when they purchased playoff tickets? Without the best celebrity in the league, what about the television numbers that are set to fall? They've given more weight to speculative future issues than to actual, current prospects for leadership. Additionally, this choice is blatantly haughty on the part of the business. The front office that witnessed Clark turn their franchise from unimportant to a must-watch television program now believes they can succeed without her. They're going to get a severe lesson about what happens when corporate caution takes precedence over greatness.
So by making the playoffs and by shutting down Caitlin Clark, it means that they fully believe that Caitlin Clark is not going to be an asset to this team, and they would rather go into the playoffs with Bree Hall on the roster than with a Caitlin Clark. And I don't know if it's a situation of, like, they would rather do that than go in with Caitlin Clark, and they would rather go in not have the headache of Caitlin Clark. It straight up seems that this front office, whether it be the coach down, they do not want the headache of constant Caitlin Clark questions in the playoffs.
Clark goes on with his statement. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone who supported me during all of the uncertainties. Not all members of the organization or those in charge of making decisions, but all those who supported her. That is an overt jab at those who obviously failed to support her when it counted most. One player missing the playoffs isn't the only issue here. Respect is at issue here. This is about acknowledging the impact Clark has had on this league and this team. She is the athlete who has given women's basketball previously unheard of levels of attention and revenue, making her the WNBA's golden goose. And being seated alongside suits who have never put on sneakers is her reward for that devotion. The most frustrating aspect was that Clark was prepared. She had been working hard. She had been working hard in treatment. She had been complying with all requests. However, the front office determined that they were more knowledgeable than the rival who has never given up on anything in her life. They put fear ahead of hopes for a championship.
I missed this so bad. Caitlin Clark's message on her Instagram story. I missed this so bad. It's just a tough thing to process, I'm sure, for her as well. And then the way it went down, it wasn't like a sudden thing, which in the long run is better, right? I mean, it's better that it wasn't an ACL or an Achilles or one of these injuries that's going to sideline her for a prolonged period of time. But the hope of her return, and then the ankle injury messing everything up in the process of that and making it so she couldn't return, it has to be burning her up inside.
They now have the opportunity to tell spectators why the most captivating player in women's basketball is sitting on the sidelines during the playoffs. They get to explain the reasons behind the decline in ticket sales, the sharp decline in viewership, and the abrupt closure of the Fever's championship window, all because they were unable to have faith in their franchise player's ability to understand her own body and make her own choices. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot, Clark says in her concluding remarks. Not our postseason berth. Not our run for the championship. Only our place. It's the vocabulary of someone who is aware that they are being prevented from achieving greater things. The largest error in the history of the Indiana Fever was just made by the front office. They warned the player who had saved their company that she couldn't be relied upon to help complete the task she had begun. They decided against competitive fire in favor of corporate liability. Instead of championships, they chose spreadsheets.
WNBA had a star come in that has not had this much impact on a sport since Tiger Woods. That is how big Caitlin Clark is. That is the global impact, and it's not just an American impact. That's the global impact that Caitlin Clark has had on this league. The amount of eyeballs, attendance, all the things. We've been over all of it. It's the Caitlin Clark effect, Clarkonomics, whatever you want to call it. At this point in time, if you're still denying that, I don't know what to say. You're not living in reality. Unfortunately, though, there are still people at this point in time who are still denying that. When Caitlin Clark went out with injury in the beginning of the season, the viewership dropped over 50%.
Caitlin Clark was worthy. Better was due to the fans. And everyone will know exactly who to blame when the Fever, without their superstar, ultimately fails in the playoffs. Not bad luck, not the injury. When it counted most, the front office was too afraid to let greatness to be great. The word disappointed is insufficient. Furthermore, it shouldn't be. Let's celebrate what may have been as we get ready to watch the Indiana Fever in the playoffs sans the one and only Caitlin Clark. Despite their best efforts to be cautious, the front desk ultimately played themselves. And Caitlin will return with a bang the following season.
Take note of what I say.
Do you believe she used to have a grudge? She will have the entire dang casino after this. The Fever will discover the hard way that you should never cut your own golden goose's wings in the interim, because you end up with nothing spectacular and a ton of eggs. Additionally, no one, purchases a ticket for the eggs. Enjoy the quiet if the Fever front office doesn't understand that.